All right, my friends, good to be out of Mercury retrograde. That was a very strange Mercury retrograde. If you've been watching the channel, then you probably heard me say this a million times. I've been following S&P 500 by the hour, and in relation to the Mercury retrograde phases since back in 2007. So that's like 3 a year since then. Um, a Mercury retrograde where the S&P 500 continues to climb. I think I've seen it 3 other times. So very, very unusual. That's part of why I was holding off, because it's kind of like no man's land. Holding off on doing some of these readings. So you should see some of these readings coming out today. By that I mean the monthlies. In any case, what we're going to go over in this video, guys, is the S&P 500 chart behavior by the hour for the day of August 12th, 2025. We're going to give you information about the overall trend direction and chart behavior, information and timing for the day's highest high, lowest low, and best trades, and then the hour-by-hour sequence of chart events. It's important to understand, guys, that the timing is usually on point to the hour, but there will be cases where you need to give it plus or minus an hour or two of wiggle room. And that's because the cards going left to right across the screen, in the reading, they represent about an hour of time, but not each card's energy will necessarily line up perfectly with 1 hour of time. So you need to allow for that in some cases to give it that wiggle room. And it's for that reason mainly that I do not recommend trading this information alone. It took me 15 years to figure out how to trade this information successfully. After that, it was still a learning process. Now we're quite good, but it's something that you'd rather follow along than try and do it yourself. Believe me when I say that. And so we do have live Discord trade alerts, live trading view chart drawings as part of our early access subscription. I'll show you how to get those services at the end of the video. That's the only way that I would consider trading this information, is if you have access to those services. Otherwise, this should be seen as proof that extrasensory perception exists and can be used practically in the real world, but more as a form of entertainment than something that you actually put money on. Again, get those services if you're serious about trading this information. Otherwise, paper trade. So, all right, guys. So with that said, let's get into it. The overall trend and chart behavior for the day. We have bearish price swings today. Sometimes these price swings, you still end up going up. I've seen cases with the moon card where there's huge swings, and overall you still end up going up. But that's usually before like the next card, which would be a big decline. In most cases, it's bearish price swings signaling bearish behavior to come, or price swings that are bearish, one of those. Behavior around the highest high, we have a U-shaped dip between two peaks. Generally, when you see this at the high, you have two highs. Either that or at the high, there's like a quick dip and then you come back to it. Behavior around the lowest low, we have out of a decline, a big move from the bottom of a range all the way to the top of a range. Generally, that's like when you see that in low position, you're forming out of a notable decline, a big move from the bottom of the range all the way to the top of range. It's usually a move back to highs, not always, so you can't count on it, but usually that's what you'll see, something like that when it's in what's in the low significator position. We want to trade around a decline where we decline to and through support, meet another support level. We rotate sideways at that level, trying to establish support, but that breaks down and we continue through multiple supports. We're looking for that type of a decline. Also noticed I missed something over here. Interesting. All of the colors, shapes, all of that stuff has, it's part of a language called SO meta-analysis, which I talk a lot about on the Discord. It's a way to quickly read visually a ton of information. And that's really the way these readings work, is that the more information I compile onto it, the less possibilities, the less like interpretations you can give to the reading that actually like are valid. You know what I mean? So like the more information, maybe the harder it is to find the right sequence of events. But when you find it, there's very rarely like an alternate possibility or something like that. It's deductive reasoning. All right, so let's get into the hour-by-hour sequence of events. In the pre-market, we have a move higher, and then we have a full retracement either at the open or into the open. there should be a lot of price change around the open here. Likely the end of a rally. We probably rally into it. I think if we look at the chart, that's probably what's happening. Oh, no, we're already coming back down here. So we've got this move to the upside. We should have a full retracement. And then there should be a lot of price change to the upside out of the open. I would use that movement to the upside out of the open as our opportunity to exit the long positions that we opened yesterday. An example of our live TradingView chart drawings as part of those services. We weren't 100% on the timing of the entry, but we were pretty close. And that's very typical of Mercury retrograde. I'm so glad Mercury retrograde is behind me, so I can really get into showing you guys what SO Meta is really about. I think it probably affects the system so much purely because I'm affected so much by Mercury retrograde. It's just something about my chart. In any case, we're out of that as of yesterday. We're now in the post shadow, but we're moving in the normal direction through the sky. We had drawn here entries for a long position. Well, right now we're above those long positions. We may come all the way back down before the open. Or into the open. It's a possibility because of that lover's card, which is usually a full retracement. But either way, what I'm looking for is out of the open, this big move to the upside. And I would look to close out of the long position. I wouldn't wait past the first half hour. I just would not wait. I would do it as soon as we have a nice move. I might change this depending on where we go before the actual open. I might adjust this ellipse, so just be mindful of that. And if you're new to the channel, this date here is basically I'm just notating the day of the prediction, because sometimes I have to adjust these. I try to keep it. Some people are like, oh man, he changed something, and I'm like, you've got money on this, right? Would you rather me leave it incorrect? I mean, I make errors sometimes, so I try to put as much information about when this has happened and keep you guys up to date of that. But either way, this is where I'd want to close along. Green ellipses are always where I'm expecting like a peak or a reversal to the downside. Sometimes not a reversal, but I just expect the price level to be near a high within the green. Greens represent highs and bullish behavior in SO Meta analysis. So most likely we're going to want to close out somewhere in this area here. But again, just on the Discord, if this live stream is over and it comes time for that, just, you'll see on the Discord if I still feel like that's appropriate, and if I adjusted the ellipse, just for your knowledge. All right, guys. So we've got that move. That's looking pretty solid. Things are going as the cards would say, bumping along resistance sideways in the first half hour, and then we should have a notable drop. Everything that I talk about is going to be on the scale of a one-day chart with 5-minute candlesticks unless otherwise specified. So a notable drop on a one-day chart from roughly 10 o'clock into the 11 o'clock hour, where we should see sideways rotation at a low thus far for the day. Sideways rotation and then a big move to the upside, ending that sideways rotation out of a trough probably just before noon. We hit a resistance level that we failed to break through many times before, or will fail to break through many times in the future, between roughly 12 and 1. Somewhere between 12 and 2, we'll break through that resistance momentarily, and then break back down through that price level shortly thereafter with another full retracement. So we create like a capital A in the English language if that price level ended up being like the horizontal line. And that's somewhere between... somewhere between 12 and 2. It's most likely going to be a high for the day there. I wouldn't wait to close my long position there just because the cards are advising a cash out with its ace of discs. There's likely to be a short entry just before 2 o'clock from a higher. When we see that move higher through key resistance, we stay above it briefly, break back down. That would be a signal to possibly enter into a short for a quick day trade. We should see a notable decline into low. And then remember, out of the low, we have a big move from the bottom of the range all the way to the top of a range. We probably come back to highs either around 315 or it'll be the following day. Probably the following day is my sense. Lows, and I say that because we've got a low signification here. The upper end of a range is highlighted just after 3 o'clock. Probably the lower end of a range is also highlighted in that last hour. And then right around the close, we have this big move to the upside, usually out of oversold territory. That turns into sideways rotation in the post market. But it does look like we end up higher. When we look at the 1 month, it does look like we end up higher in the morning tomorrow. But there is also notable decline indicated here. Cross-trading congruency as well. The high card on the daily is the Priestess card. You can see here on the 1 month for the 12th, we have the Priestess card. So this is going to be a pretty notable dip, is my sense. Light blue always indicating a cross-trading congruency. That's a congruency between two overlapping time frame readings. I'll talk about that in much more detail in the next edition of the Tarot for Traders book, or more likely in the Investor Profit University, most likely coming out in the 4th quarter. All right, guys, that's SPY for August 12th, 2025. The remaining August dailies are going to be coming out today and tomorrow. Not on live stream, but as normal. So look out for those. If you're interested in trading this information, again, I do not recommend trading this information alone. Sometimes things change. This is more of an expectation. It's a much more powerful system. SO meta-analysis, much more powerful system utilized in real time, because it's just you have to see it to believe it, guys. But what you want to do is you want to go to our website, Tarot for Traders, hover over Order Now, click on Subscriptions, Early Access Subscription. It's right here. It's $150 a month. This gets you access to the earliest access to any of our public posts coming out on YouTube. They come out first on our early access videos channel on Discord. You get the live Discord trade alerts for day trading SPY and swing trading SPY, as well as the chart link for the live updated TradingView chart drawings that I showed you in this video. That's all part of the early access subscription. $150. My God, guys, you make that back in one trade. Our Mercury retrograde's always a little bumpy. Take it easy during Mercury retrograde. Try to be very, very selective, because it's just a pain in the butt. But coming out of Mercury retrograde, things should really, really tighten up here, guys. You make $150 back and some in one trade. So it's a no-brainer. Much love and appreciation to everybody that goes ahead and does that. And blessings to all my angel investors. Going to the resources tab of our website, Tarot for Traders. And following that rule of karma, donating 5% of all profits forward to one of these charities. 5% of all profits back to the channel to say thank you. Much love and appreciation. It leaves you with 90%. Make sure to spend that money 90% out of love. As long as you follow those rules, that makes you an angel investor of the channel. Universe is going to send it back to you tenfold for following through. Blessings again to all my angel investors. I will see you guys on the next one. Look out for